is a big opportunity for this town, and why isn't it getting the attention it should? And I always ask that question too. I've been very concerned why it hasn't gotten the urgency it should. And I hope tonight the Board of Selectmen will just tell us why it hasn't. If there isn't a good answer, because people should just be accountable for this, but if it isn't a good answer, then just tell us it isn't a good answer.
I have a good answer to it, Michael. First of all, there was an attempt to get it passed. The deadline was October 1st. October 1st came and went. And then there was a period of time when it was put aside because, we've got to wait until next October. And there are other things that we're dealing with.
I understand.
Then all of a sudden, out of the blue, the state decides that we have until December 1st. And it's back on the top of the, it's on top of the burner.
Missing the point, Mr. Misery, and that is, we knew about it in June. We knew about it in July. And what I think I'm hearing, I don't want to speak for any folks, but I've spoken with them, so I'm just trying to give you a voice from the community, okay? Being in the fact position, I'm hearing this on behalf of the community, so it's not me speaking. But what people are saying is that we're not changing the way we do business, okay? We knew about the GIC a long time ago, so we should have months in advance had it planned, had a strategy, had a team of folks maybe behind the scenes helping Mr. Delaconis be prepared. So when October came around, or whatever the date was initially, September, October, he was prepared to take that fight on. We don't do that, and I think that's the message I'm hearing, at least through the community. The other thing also, I want people in this room to hear from me and folks at home, I had the opportunity, Mr. Venezia came to several of my meetings and he educated us about this, how difficult it is to negotiate some of these contracts. And people have to understand, there is a lot of unreasonableness going on behind the scenes that people don't know about. I didn't even know about it. And I saw it firsthand. Several months ago, I briefed the Board of Selectmen on some ideas my committee and I did. I got a phone call 2 days after that meeting from an employee in this town, a senior person, and told me that none of our ideas will ever go through. They'll never let them go through. They'll actually go on strike before those ideas go through. They just don't care. And Mr. Venezia, it exactly hit home, exactly what you were telling us in our meetings with you, that the attitude on the other side of this fence is not a good one. And I don't know how you fix it. I'm not sure if it's the town people that have to stand up to these people, but the employees behind the scenes, at least the senior ones, don't care about making reductions. They'd rather see a layoff or a strike before they're going to give up anything. So I want everyone to understand that. Be realistic what you're asking these people to go and do. And if I'm speaking out of school on that point, I hope somebody clarifies.
Well, as somebody that negotiated the last teacher's contract, and I spent 13 months of my life doing it, Deanna talks about no raises, why 2%, and Mike's talking about the other side of the point. The employees feel in a lot of cases that they're being forced, 200 employees from the school department or 100 employees from the town, that at times they're being forced to carry the entire burden of the economic situation on their backs, and that to spread it out over the 300 employees in the town isn't fair, and that's their philosophy. My philosophy in negotiating a contract is that we get something that's fair and equitable and reasonable under the circumstances. And, suggestions that a 0% increase is something that's going to fly, you've got to negotiate with the other side. And quite frankly, the other side's not going to come in and say, well, we understand the problems that the town is having, we're going to take a step back, because they have their own personal interest at stake. Negotiations are tough. It's funny, I hear Deanna and some other people in here today taking a position that, gee, the unions are unreasonable and they should step back and do what's good for the town and understand the circumstances. And yet when we negotiated those contracts, I didn't see any parents coming in and supporting our position. I saw a lot of angry parents coming in and screaming and yelling at us and saying, quote, unquote, give them whatever they want, they deserve it. And we held our ground. I can't speak for the other negotiators up there, but we held our ground. We took a lot of abuse for 13 months. And at the end of the day, I was extremely satisfied and extremely proud of the contract that we negotiated with them. Now, I'll be the first to admit, and I told Mike this when I met with his committee, we have some work to do. There are still things that need to be, over years of collective bargaining, you cannot undo those things in a period of 1 or 2 or 3 negotiating sessions. It takes a long time to do it. But in fairness to the unions, they're also looking at what's in the best interest of their people. And sometimes the two clash. I mean, right now, the community of North Reading is basically subsidized by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Pure and simple. You know, we can make all the cuts that we want, we can negotiate all the good contracts we want, but if the state's not going to provide us with the type of aid that is necessary for us to be solvent, then we're pretty helpless. I think, and Deanna's made suggestions, Mike's made suggestions, and I think we, as boards, we have to look at those suggestions and we have to really start to implement a lot of them. Because there is some economies that can be realized here by us tightening our belts and doing business a little bit differently. I'm just not sure that we're ever going to get to a point where we're self-sufficient. I'm not sure under the current system. I think Steve O'Leary described it as the structural deficiency in the past, the way the town government is funded. And it's an extremely difficult situation, and quite frankly, it's like a roller coaster. You know, we get some funding, we got an override a few years ago, the selectmen have pitched in to help out the schools, and we're up here. And then as Mr. Driscoll has said, you know, we're up here, we're doing okay, we're average, and I agree with you, it's average. You know, we're not making we haven't got the offerings that we'd like to have foreign languages and some of the other classes. So we're up here, and then all of a sudden, as another year or two fiscal years go by, we're back down here again. And it's just it's a product of the system. I think some good suggestions have been made. I think the GIC thing is something that we really need to pursue. It's probably the single biggest savings that the town can realize. But at the same time, I understand how difficult it is to negotiate these things. And maybe we need to put enough pressure on the bargaining groups to understand that if this doesn't get done, then there are going to be much more drastic measures that are going to have to take place.
I just have one more point, and then I'll get off the stage. The last thing is, Ms. Sarah, you talked about your meeting with other boards of selectmen. Isn't it possible to meet with those other boards of selectmen and create negotiating strategies where other towns get on board with us and support us? Just like the other unions seem to get with other towns, and they all seem to get together collectively, and then they argue as one. It doesn't seem like the other boards of selectmen are getting on board with North